everyone, and welcome to the Postmodern Art Podcast, the podcast dedicated to giving artists who are wowing the world over the platform they deserve. I'm your host, Nathan Ragland, and for today's episode, let's get ready to rumble into a fantastic conversation with a gentle giant that I cannot help but love every single time I get to go to my local wrestling show. Today's guest is Dave Stage, a wrestler based out of Georgia with some of the most immense strength and the most devastating spear in all of the indie space in the Southeast. Dave is someone that I have been lucky enough not only to just see at multiple shows, but someone I've had a chance to just actually connect with outside of the podcast beforehand. He is genuinely a really cool person, and that's why I knew I needed to have him on the podcast to chat about just what even got him into this space in the first place. If you enjoy our guests, please make sure you support him with the links down in the description below. If you enjoy the podcast, make sure you like, share, subscribe, or follow whatever audio streaming platform you prefer. Leave 5 stars wherever you can. You know I see that stuff. You know it genuinely does make my day. Speaking of that subscribing, I hate to bring this up like I have been for the past couple of weeks, but odds are, if you're watching this, you're probably, according to my analytics, one of the 80% of people that are not subscribed to the channel. So, if you would do me a huge favor, just take the chance if you enjoyed today's conversation and hit that subscribe button. It will not only give you access to so many incredible conversations, but it will look good for my analytics. Just saying. If you want to go a little further with that support, may I recommend you check out the merch shop that we have at fourthwall.com. We have some amazing designs. It's done by some fantastic artists, and I think you would look sensational in the streetwear we have ready for you today. So, if that's something that you want to do to help support the podcast as well as the artists that made the merch, go to the link in the description below that is next to the big old words that say merch shop and get your merch today. But now, without further ado, please enjoy the Postmodern Art Podcast. All right, Dave, before we really do get going, I must ask the icebreaker question of the podcast, if I may. Let's say you get to go to a desert island on your own accord. It's just you alone with your thoughts. You get to kick back, relax, breathe, get to really enjoy yourself for a little bit. With accommodations. I shouldn't say deserted, more like a personal B&B paradise away from society for a little bit. To make sure you don't go completely insane on this island, you can bring one piece of media or one piece of art with you to help with whatever kind of headspace you want on this island. If given this opportunity, what would that one piece be?
It would be Modern Life is War's record, Midnight in America.
Oh, okay. Honestly, before now, I had not heard about that band nor that record in the first one. So what is it about that band and the record in general that kind of connects you to where that's the one piece you want to bring with you?
So they're based a couple of cities where I grew up, a couple of cities away from where I grew up at in Iowa. And their lyrics, the way they wrote all their music, just like spoke to me in a way that made me, it felt like they took the words right out of my brain. And like a couple of guys I grew up with who listened to them as well. Actually, I grew up with, I don't mean to like name drop right out of the gate, but I grew up with Seth Rollins. We grew up together in Iowa, and he's actually a big Modern Life is War fan as well. And we all, like, it was me, him, a couple other guys, we all listened to him all the time. And it was one of those things where it's like we all felt like they wrote that music just for us. Like it was just like the thoughts of a kid who grew up in the Midwest blasted out on a speaker, pretty much.
Honestly, that is extremely valid. I would be lying if I said I didn't at least have written down if there was a possible Seth Rollins connection, because in fact, you're both from Davenport, Iowa. I'm glad to know that I guess I was justified in that. But regardless, I mean, back with like the original question or whatnot, like it's cool to know that like I can understand where you're coming from, especially with like, hey, that local, small in the middle of the Midwest mentality, having someone that can actually speak to you about that. I get why that kind of hits and connects on a different level at the end of the day. But regardless, that the band in that album, that is your answer. You're locking that in.
Locking it in, man.
Then if that's the case, I cannot think of a better way to start the Postmodern Art Podcast. Welcome, everyone. I'm your host, Nathan Ragland. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, or follow whatever audio streaming platform you prefer. You look fantastic in the merch we have at the merch shop, fourthwall.com. Link to that is in the description below. And follow us on Blue Sky, Instagram, TikTok, and most social media platforms at Postmod Art Pod for future updates and guest announcements, including today's guest. From Davenport, Iowa, he is the powerhouse wrestler with the most immense strength and devastating spear in all of the Southeast. Welcome to the podcast, Dave Stage.
Thanks for that introduction, man.
Look, I felt like I had to go a little bit more into my wrestling announcer bag in order to make sure I introduce you properly at the end of the day.
I appreciate that.
How you doing today, Dave?
Doing good, man. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic now that we're getting the opportunity to sit down and do this. You are actually someone that I have seen several times at one of my favorite promotions to go to, Classic City Wrestling. And you've just always been one of the people that I always love. I love getting you to break even just for like a half second. Like, you know, you're this big ferocious beast, but every time you see me, I just go, hi. And I just love seeing you say hi back. But no, seriously, like you're an incredible, like I wasn't joking when I said you were an incredible powerhouse wrestler that I enjoy seeing, and especially seeing your presence out on the wrestling space or whatnot. I really wanted to get a chance to talk about that and then some. But before we talk about the stuff you're doing nowadays, I want to go back just a little bit and learn more or less the origin story of Dave. What got you interested in art, and in particular, what got you interested in wrestling in the first place?
So, I haven't actually watched wrestling. Well, I hadn't since I started watching wrestling. I got a really late start in life with wrestling. I didn't take my first bump until I was 35.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, man. So there was years. I mean, the last time I probably watched wrestling consistently, I was probably 12 or 13.
Okay.
And stopped watching. And then I hadn't watched all those years in between. And like I had mentioned, Seth Colby is his real name.
Yeah.
Whenever we would talk, he has his school up there in Iowa, and he would bring up like how much fun I would have if I ever got into wrestling, because I've always done something athletic.
Okay.
I was in the military. When I was in the military, I was doing like boxing and grappling and all that stuff. And then shortly before I got out, I moved to doing powerlifting, and then a little bit after that, it was bodybuilding. So I'd always done something somewhat physical. So he would always bring it up and suggest I just give it a try, that I'd have fun with it. And then life kind of happened when I turned 34. At the time I was married. I was going through a divorce, and then I was also a police officer at the time, and I decided to leave policing because I have she was younger than, I have a 10-year-old daughter. She was, I think, however old she was, 4. I can't do the math. And so policing just wasn't going to work for me with night shift and everything. I didn't have the time that I wanted to spend with her, so I left policing. And it was almost like a lot of my identity left all at once, because I went from being a husband and a father like 24/7 to now just being a dad on the weekends, basically. So, and no longer being a police officer. Like I said before that, it was the military. So there was always this like greater sense of purpose for me, that everything just got kind of yanked out from under me. So
I got you.
I was like, well, I guess now is the time. Like I have time now, and I didn't grow up in Atlanta, so I don't know a lot of. Well, I didn't know a lot of people in Atlanta, so I was like, this would be a way for me to like make some friends, hang out, whatever. And so I hit up Colby, and I was like, hey man, do you know anybody who could train me in Atlanta? And Heath Slater, I guess. I think.
Okay.
Yeah, he had some association with this wrestling school called Face to Face.
Mm-hmm.
And so Colby sent me his info, and I hit him up. And it was actually, he just sent me right to the guy who owned the gym. So
nice.
That guy was just like a super mark. So as soon as he like knew that I had some sort of connection to Colby. He was just like, yeah, come down. We'll, whatever. So yeah, then I just started training. I thought it would be like something fun to do.
Right.
And then I met I trained for maybe like 2 weeks, and I was on the fence about doing it. And then I met John Gresham.
Oh, yes.
We became really good friends, like real quick. We were friends. And then it was like he invited me and one other guy to just start training during the week. And at the time, because I had just left my real job, policing, I had all the spare time because I was getting into IT. So I was doing like IT courses so I could get a job.
Right.
So there was, for like 3 or 4 months, 3 or 4 times a week, me, this other dude, and John would go into the gym, just us three, and train for hours. And it was just like something fun to do. And then it got to a point where John was like, well, you've been doing this long enough. You should start wrestling shows.
Right.
And I was kind of like, I guess, I don't know. I didn't really think that much about it. And then I started doing shows, and I guess I just kind of started doing that.
Well, I mean, I can completely understand the mentality even in the first place to even get to that point. Because I mean, like initially, like from what you told me, like there was that love there whenever you were real little, but like you'd gotten away from it. You had other priorities in life. You had other athletic ventures that you went down. The military and such. Which thank you for your service, by the way.
Oh, thanks.
But like getting involved with that, and then actually having to the family and real life stuff, especially with being a police officer, which I've had a buddy or two that have also been police officers and such, and I know that's not an easy career to be a part of in the first place, let alone especially when you have a family on top of that. So I can understand why it was a tough time for you more than anything else, getting away from that and trying to basically start from scratch at the end of the day. I can see how wrestling could be a really good avenue for you to really put the previous experiences in and such. Like it's wonderful to know that the life journey kind of in a way kind of led to this new chapter of wrestling and such that I bet you didn't even seriously think about until, like you said, you got older and you asked Kobe, hey, do you know anybody around here?
Yeah, when I was a little kid, I would watch because my dad was a amateur wrestling coach.
Okay.
So when I saw Ken Shamrock, because I started wrestling when I was like amateur wrestling when I was super young,
right?
I think like 7. So when I saw Ken Shamrock, it seemed like that was like a thing that I could do because I was like, oh well, this guy, So that was probably the only time that I ever really thought about doing it. And then, all those years in between, I had never considered wrestling as being something I would ever do or try or anything like that. So
right. I did want to ask, what even brought you to Atlanta in the first place? Was it the policing gig or whatnot, or was it something else that got you to the lovely South, Empire State of the South?
No. So my grandmother was living up near where I grew up at, and she got really sick.
Oh, okay.
When I went to go visit her, I was a cop in Colorado at the time.
Oh, wow.
And, when I went to go visit her in the hospital, my uncle who lives or who was living in Sandy Springs pulled me aside and was like, hey, grandma can't live on her own anymore, so I'm going to move her, down so she can live with me. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then when I went back to Colorado, the more I thought about it, the more I was like, because my grandparents were like the only people that I really connected with growing up. So
okay,
I was like, man, grandma probably doesn't have that much longer to live, so I'm going to move so that way I can help out and be closer to her. So that's how I got down to Atlanta.
Okay. No, that's fair and understandable, and an admirable thing to do. It's not easy to literally uproot yourself from almost halfway, literally almost across the entire country in order to take care of the people that you truly care about. That's never easy to do. I know my dad had to kind of do the reverse thing for my grandpa because my grandpa used to live up in Illinois. Obviously my dad used to as well, and then towards like the tail end of his life, he was able to get him to come down to Georgia where we live, and he lived with us up until like his final days. So yeah, I get where you're coming from on that one. But the wrestling path, I'm curious, at least when it came to like, obviously I can understand how you could, all the previous stuff that we talked about could lead you to potentially to wrestling. But what was it about wrestling in particular that kind of, I don't know, scratched that itch for you at the end of the day of, just being something to really express yourself or something to just get some energy out?
Yeah, I think it was an escape.
Okay.
I think it was removing it, which is it was. I didn't do as good of a job as I could have, and like used because Dave Stage is my real name.
Okay.
But I wanted something to kind of escape reality, and I figured that was about as good as it could get. And also, I always got in these situations with the military and policing that I would only get into with those careers. And I thought wrestling would be the same thing. Like the only way I'm ever going to get in driving to some really weird city in Tennessee on a Saturday and wrestling is doing that. You know what I mean? Where else am I going to be in my underwear in front of a bunch of strangers and fake fight some guy I just met 5 minutes ago? You know what I mean?
I mean, I can maybe think of like one or two other paths or whatnot, but I don't think those paths are legal.
Yeah.
No, it's great to hear. I mean, especially like you said, the escapism aspect of it, especially with how wrestling is able to kind of like tell the story in the ring or whatnot. And you could literally be whoever you want when you step through those curtains and you step in that squared circle. Like I can understand where you're coming from on that one, especially when you have a good mentor like Jonathan Gresham, who is probably one of the more underrated. Like he's definitely one of the indie darlings, I guess would probably be the best way to word it. Like he's one of those people to where the name, even if you're a little bit more of a casual fan at the end of the day. Like I can only imagine getting the chance to work alongside him and him kind of like mentoring you to be that point. Like that had to be, I had to like unlock something special in you, especially whenever he was the one that was pushing you to actually make this thing a reality more than just, a fun thing to do on the side.
Yeah, and it's funny because I didn't even know, because like I said, I hadn't watched wrestling all those years.
Right.
So I just saw this Jack dude and was like, oh, he looks like he knows what he's doing. And then I remember asking Colby, and I was like, hey, do you know who this John Gresham guy is? And he was like, yeah, that guy's awesome. Like, if you have any way of connecting with him, absolutely. And then I was like, yeah, I'm training with him all the time. And he was like, oh, stay there as much as you can. And I was like, oh, okay, cool.
There you go.
Then I looked into it and I was like, oh, wow, I'm getting a really good opportunity here.
It's like, oh, wow, this guy is more legit than I thought he was. Holy crap.
Yeah, pretty much.
Talk about stumbling into success, right?
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. Plus, it's really cool to hear that, especially after all these years or whatnot. Like, not only do you have like this cool connection with Jonathan, but you still have a good connection with arguably one of the biggest names in wrestling right now, Colby, as everyone else knows him, Seth Rollins or whatnot. Like, how much has he been a factor when it comes to you really taking this wrestling path a lot more seriously?
I mean, when I first started, I would send him matches and he would, give me feedback and stuff. And then after a while, I was just kind of like, I'm going to stop bothering him, because then, he's got his daughter and he's got a whole bunch of life going on. So, every now and then, like, I'll see him like a post of mine or something. I'm like, yeah, he's still looking out. But, yeah, it was, at first I would always text him about like character stuff. Like, hey, what do you think I should do about this? What do you think I should do about that? And it was always just this answer of like, yeah, man, like if that's what you think you should be doing, go ahead and do it.
Oh, there you go. There you go. I mean, again, as someone who has definitely found a way to like reinvent his character in more ways than one or whatnot, again, that's a good person to get advice from at the end of the day. So obviously I know Jonathan was the guy that more or less said, hey, you should take this seriously. When did you when did you personally take it seriously? Like when did it go from just like, again, this nice little like fun side hobby to something that you took a little bit more seriously, something that you could see yourself be a part of on, an average Saturday night in Timbuktu, Tennessee or whatnot?
I guess when I realized who John was, and then I went just by chance because I had never been to an indie wrestling show or anything. I've never seen it. And, well, actually, I remember Colby had came and visited me when I lived in Florida, and I went to an ROH show. But that's not really, that really wasn't indie wrestling as much as, but yeah. So I went to, somebody was holding a seminar. I can't remember who it was. Bob Evans. Bob Evans was holding a seminar at a show, and I drove to go to the seminar because John was always like, you got as much training as you can get. It doesn't matter who it's from, you can learn something from everybody,
right?
So I saw this guy was doing a seminar, so I went there, and then afterwards there was a show, so I was like, well, I'm here. It was in Warner Robins, so it was a good drive for me, so I was like, I'm just gonna stay for the show then too. And hopefully this doesn't sound bad, but when I saw the level of wrestling, I was like, oh, I could do
that. No, trust me. Because for you, I think it's a lot more valid than some people when they think that, because at least at that point, like, you'd at least been like, you've been training, you've been practicing and such, instead of like, for example, my fat self sitting, ringside at a Classic City wrestling show and seeing you take DJ Smoke and tossing them onto the outside, and me thinking I could do that. Like, no, it's a lot harder than just that at the end of the day. But you've at least like put in the time and effort to like do some of that stuff.
Yeah. So I guess that's when I was like, all right, I'm sorry, I just cut you off. Go ahead.
No, you say your thought, because I was just gonna move on anyway.
Yeah, all I was going to say is then at that point I was just like, yeah, this is something, I should take somewhat serious.
No, absolutely. I also did want to ask this note this or whatnot. I love how you're a very well-traveled person. I realize this or whatnot, because you were born in Iowa, you lived out in Colorado, you're here in Georgia, you lived in Florida at one point. Is there a place you haven't been to?
Oh, there's plenty of places, man. But yeah.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. I mean, like, especially like you said, you also were part of the military. It's not like, I mean, there's certainly, I imagine there's probably a good places you had to hop fort to fort or whatnot. So when it comes to training and such.
Yeah, I did some bouncing around, and now my job is I work for a company, and it's traveling IT work basically. And,
okay.
If there's somebody like who's going to be out of the office for a long time, I'll go and fill in for them. Or if there's a conference, I go and do conferences. I do the IT stuff, and then they do audits in this company, so I'll go do for their audits.
Okay.
Now I'm traveling all the time to, like this month I've been to Phoenix, Baltimore, Orlando. This week I'm going to Jacksonville, Florida. So,
jeez,
it's constant.
You are truly a well-traveled man at the end of the day. There's certainly a lot of interesting stories, I imagine, when it comes to being on the road. And I imagine that's certainly helped with the wrestling that you've actually been able to really immerse yourself in. Do you remember some of those first opportunities, like actually getting to work like an indie show, like how weird it was for you to be a part of that?
Yeah, I mean, the first couple shows I did was at the wrestling school that I was training at. So it didn't feel as weird because I was wrestling in the same ring that I had been training in. But then the first show that I did outside of, I think I had done like 3 school shows.
Okay.
And then maybe the 4th or 5th show that I did was at New South. And it didn't feel as different because John was working the show. So I came up with him and then did the show. And that was the first time that I'd wrestled somewhere that didn't feel, I guess, like somewhat familiar.
Right.
And yeah, that it was just, I think that still felt kind of comfortable too. But then there was this company who hit me up and asked me to do this heavyweight tournament, and then they were going to make me the champ. And I was like, I was under 10 matches in, and I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. And then I started driving up to, I can't even remember the name of the city in Tennessee, but I started driving up there, and it was just wild to me because, like, the people who would show up to the shows and like all the guys in the back, it was just like a completely different environment than I ever thought I would be in. And I remember one time I was in up there, I was in like a fatal four way or something like that. And I got bumped out. And then, you know, I was supposed to just kind of take a breath. And there was this guy who was feeding his baby, like his wife. And then he was holding the baby. And he's like, "Hey, Dave, you want some baby formula?" And I was like, I don't know how to respond to this. So I was like, well, only if it's organic. And he took that dead serious. And he looked at his wife. His baby, is it organic? Like, yeah. And he like goes to lean the bottle my way, and I was like, I'm good, dude. Like, so I was like, oh, this is a little bit different than what I'm used to.
It's a different environment at the end of the day. Oh my goodness. I you know, props to that man. I don't know how dead serious he was or whatnot, but the fact that he had to ask, is it organic? At a certain point, you have to be like, wait, what am I asking? What's going on? But also, like, I think it's also a good testament of just like the work you've been able to put into this at the end of the day, to know that there are people that, you know, whenever you were still very green in the ring, like you said, you had less than 10 matches, and yet they wanted to go ahead and put the heavyweight championship on you or whatnot. Like, I think it's a good testament when it comes to just your personality and how you present yourself at the end of the day. Like, what is the thought process when it comes to how you want to put yourself out there as Dave Stage, the wrestler?
Man, it's definitely changed when because I started and immediately was attached to John, and you know, John takes it very serious. Everything's real serious.
Right.
Wrestling's like his life. So I came out of the gate taking it very seriously. Like, I treated it, because the way he trained me was very comparable to like martial arts training, or, you know, like boxing or jiu-jitsu, or, you know, even the stuff that I was doing in the military. So it just felt like I need to take this so serious, and like everything had to look, the few moves that I did had to look perfect. If it looked fake at all, like I would just flip out, you know, mentally, like I wouldn't say anything to anybody. But yeah, so that's kind of how I presented myself to promoters. Like, I was like almost an MMA fighter who wanted to get booked on, you know, for an MMA fight. And then over the years, I've been like, oh man, this is what I'm doing for fun. I gotta, you know, like, obviously I still want it to be a good show, and I still want everything to look good. But I went from it being, I guess, a sport to what it is, an entertainment. And I think that's when I was kind of like, you know, this is for me to have fun. This isn't for me to like be stressed out about, if that makes any sense.
No, I completely understand where you're coming from. It became less of a, like you said, you went from having that MMA mentality to just being entertainment. You took it less of a job and more of just like something fun for yourself and for everyone in the crowd at the end of the day.
Yeah, like if I'm going to spend my Saturday doing it, it should be fun.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you do a great job with that, whether you present yourself, you know, whether it was how it was whenever I first got a chance to see you with the curly mustache and looking like a lumberjack, ready to just knock down any tree possible, to how you are nowadays, a little bit more of a serious edge to you at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's DJ is like he'll yell at me, not yell at me for real, but like he'll be like, he always calls me Davey, and he's like, Davey, you got to stop smiling so much. Because I'll start, like you said, like I'll make small talk with people when I'm supposed to be like a heel, and I'm just like, nah, man, like I'm having fun.
No, good. Like, you should be having fun at the end of the day when it comes to what you're doing. I mean, it's always, especially with how much of a serious and yet unserious thing wrestling is just in the first place or whatnot. Like, and I imagine some of the opportunities you've been able to have, especially since you've gone down this road, I can only imagine how much more the fun gets amped, like one after another after another. Is there any opportunities that you can think of, like right off the bat, is like, this is some of the silliest things that I've done, but thank God I got a chance to do it?
So I don't know if you were at the classic show where I came out in a cop uniform.
I don't think I was. What year was that? Was that trying to think what year that would be, because I don't think I saw you for that one.
Yeah, I came out as the Law, and I did some spot where I can't remember the guy's name, but he was like beating the creeps up, and then I came in. It was I think it was a 6-man tag because I remember it was the creeps and Matt Sells, and I kind of came in and started beating the people up who were beating them up, and before I went out, Jimmy Yang was there, and he came up and saw what I was wearing, and he's like, "Are you coming out to the YMCA?" and I was like, "Nah, man." And he's like, "Well, you need to like incorporate something with YMCA in it." And I was like, I told him the spot, and I was like, "I don't know how you think like me coming out and like beating everybody up is going to be the YMCA." He's like, "Okay, well, you clear the ring and you help everybody back up, and then the YMCA kicks on and you lead everybody, through the arm motions of it." And I was like, "Okay." And he's like, "You'll do it for real?" And I was like, "Yeah." So he's like, "I'm going to go tell the promoter." And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." So then Justin came up to me like right before I was about to go out, and he's like, "Are you okay with this?" And I was like, "Yeah, man, whatever, it'll be fun." And as I was doing it, I was like, "Oh man, never thought this would happen."
Oh, I guess you never really realize it until it does happen. It's like, okay, this is the kind of stuff I get myself into. Interesting.
Yeah.
I was thinking there was that one. I'll tell you, for me, when it comes to going to the Classic City wrestling shows, which for people that have no idea what we're even talking about or whatnot, it is the local promotion for Athens, Georgia, that sometimes does shows in like Atlanta, and they've expanded out to I think like Tennessee and South Carolina and such. But Classic City Wrestling, I remember the one show with the most ridiculous thing that I've seen. It was like I don't know if it was a battle royal or it was a multi-man thing or whatnot, but there was at one point to where the wrestlers just started kicking each other in the shin and then doing the Family Guy just like that was one of the funniest moments I ever witnessed at a Classic City Wrestling show.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Absolutely. I mean, like, and that's just when it comes to some of the silly stuff or whatnot. I can only imagine when it comes to some of the actual opportunities that you've been able to like really present yourself out there. Like I could go down the list of just the promotions that you've been able to be a part of, but I think I would be remiss if I didn't at least mention how surreal was it to actually be able to participate in an NWA show, because in fact that is like the legacy indie promotion of all time.
That was cool. It felt so. It never really it feels like, I don't know how to describe it. It feels like it feels like it's some sort of connection, because like it's always some sort of connection that gets me to those places.
Right.
So I don't feel like it was like, oh well, my skill and my talent got me here. It was I was working a show in Tennessee, and I bumped into Alex Taylor from NWA.
Okay.
And we started talking, and then it turns out he got trained up at Colby's school. So then he immediately we started to talk about all the different people that we knew, and he knew a lot of the guys I grew up with, because a lot of those guys are still wrestlers. And, so we exchanged numbers, and then he started. He would always invite me to different things, and then I met Thrillbilly. And he was like, I remember this was, I don't know, this isn't like a PG show or anything, is it?
No, yeah. If you need to say a few fucks or whatnot, be my guest.
Okay. So I had no idea who he was. I had done, it was like a EC3 seminar or something.
Okay.
And I was in the back, like after I'd done my match, I went in the back and was getting changed. And halfway through getting changed, I hear him come back there, and he called me Double Penetration Dave Stage. And he's just like screaming about how like people are going to be like, how can he be double penetration? He's only one man. And then you pull it out, Dave. You pull out 2 dicks. You got 2 dicks. And I was like, what the fuck is this guy talking about?
Is this man okay? Is this man good?
I was like, this is insanity to me. And so then we became friends, and he was the one who got me on that show, and that's how I ended up working him. Is he was like, hey, he just was like, hell yeah, Dave, get up here. And I was like, okay, man, I'll be there. That's cool. It was actually on my birthday, which was cool.
Oh, that's cool. That's really good to hear more than anything else. I mean, if there was ever a way to celebrate is having fun at a wrestling show,
Absolutely.
I mean, that's how I usually celebrate my birthday, especially whenever Classic City has one that's around my birthday time. So there's that.
There you go.
I will also note there was one match that I wanted to ask about when I was doing my little research or whatnot. How in the world did you get an opportunity to wrestle legendary wrestler Gangrel?
Oh man. Yeah, I don't know. There was this guy. So it was actually before I'd even worked a match. I was putting up chairs at John's Terminus show, his first Terminus show.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy came up to me and was like, hey, are you a worker? And I was like, yeah, man. And he's like, let me get your information. And he was booking for some show just outside of Chicago. And I started to go up there to work matches. And they hit me up and were like, hey, can you come work this? It was at a fair.
Okay.
Yeah, can you come work this show? And I was like, yeah, whatever, I'll come up there. And I was still so green. And they told me, you're going to work one match, you're going to go over, and then you're going to cut this promo, and then you're going to, Gangrel's going to come out, and then you're going to work Gangrel. And I was like, this is not good for me. Because like I know I have like 10 minutes of wrestling in me, and then I don't know anything more than that.
Okay.
So 2 matches back to back was gonna, and then promo. I had never cut a promo, so I was like, oh man, this is absurd. And I remember when Gangrel got there, he went and he's in the locker room with us, and everybody's talking to him, and I was like, I got to figure out a way to talk to him because I'm about to go out. I got to know what he wants to do.
Right.
So he kind of gave me the rundown of what he wanted to do. And I was like, okay, and I told him the situation, like, hey, I'm super green. I'm probably not going to remember a lot of what I'm supposed to do. So, whatever, if you could help me out. And he was like, oh, we'll talk in the ring. We'll talk in the ring. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I go out there, I do the one match, which was absolute dog shit. And then I cut the promo. And I think that was the first time I worked heel. This was the first time I cut a promo. So I just started like making fun of people in the crowd.
Okay. And
then Gangrel comes out and we do our opening spot. And then I don't remember whatever else is supposed to happen. And then he just started like chopping the fuck out of me. And I was like, oh, this guy is not happy at the fact that I forgot what happened. And then, he chopped the piss out of me. And then when we went in the back, I was like, hey, was everything okay? And he just kind of was like, yeah, I thought you would chop me back. And I was like, I didn't know what the fuck was going on, man. We didn't call that many chops. We didn't call a single chop. So I didn't know what you were doing. But I was just like, okay, cool. Thanks, man.
I mean, of all the people to give you a trial through fire, I think Gangrel's probably probably top of the list given how familiar he is with it.
Yeah, it was cool.
It's really cool to hear like the experiences you kind of had, like, at least like early on, like really, getting your boots on the ground when it comes to really getting the wrestling experience or whatnot. We've heard a lot of I've heard you talk about a lot of the experience that was kind of weird or whatnot. What about, I'm curious when it comes to some of the best ones. Is there a particular match or a particular experience that you consider, like, since you've gone down this wrestling path, that's like the best or at least like the most surreal? Like, wow, I actually got a chance to do that, or I got the chance to experience that.
My favorite match, my favorite experience was my first match at Classic City at the 40 watt with Lobo Akimbo, I think.
Okay.
And that was the first time I had wrestled like a bar show or like a show where people were like rowdy, and it was like just like a crowd that was really really excited to be there. And because I know this, but a lot of, or not a lot necessarily, but some indie shows fans show up to almost have a bad time, if that
Yep.
makes sense, because they want to be there to. I don't get why, but they want to be there to almost like shit on the wrestlers or like make some point of like why that doesn't make sense or whatever the case is. And that was the first show that I had been to where people didn't give a fuck. They just wanted to have fun. Like they weren't there to like nitpick anybody's style or whatever. They were there to laugh, yell at people, have a good time. And I remember me and Lobo were a few minutes into the match, and he just grabbed me, and it was so loud that I could barely hear him. And he was like, "You fucking hear this crowd?" And I was like, "Yeah, man." And I was like, "This is awesome." Like I felt like I didn't feel most of the time. I feel kind of gassed when I'm wrestling and that stuff. And I felt like I could have gone for like hours wrestling that guy just because the crowd was so hyped. It was a really good experience for me.
I assume that's part of the reason why any chance you can, you keep coming back to good old Classic City down at 40 Watt, huh?
Oh yeah. They were because I actually quit wrestling for about a year.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and I only really work for them now, and then Mucha Lucha, and those are the only two shows that I've been doing.
Okay. No, honestly, I respect that at the end of the day. I mean, especially with how Classic City, the vibe has always been great. I know the shows that I went to with the person that I was dating, who's just now my one of my best friends. Shout out Christine, because I know she's probably listening in on this episode. But like every single time we go to one of those shows, it's always an amazing time, an amazing vibe. How they set everything up. If you're around the Athens area and they're doing a show, or Atlanta and they're doing a show, please go to a Classic City wrestling show. It will be worth your time at the end of the day. Plus, you get to see Dave, and you can understand just what I mean by one of the coolest people that I've had a chance to see wrestle on on those shows or whatnot. But also, I'm glad you also brought up the other promotion you also wrestle, Mucho Lucha or whatnot, because I notice on your socials you tend to promote another wrestler very prominently. I'm curious on your connection with them. Who is this Taxi Man that you tend to shout the praises of on social sometime?
Yeah, so Taxi Man is Mucha Lucha wanted I'm tongue tied. So before I had ever thought about wrestling, which it was months before almost, like there wasn't that much of time gap in between it. But I saw a poster for a Mucha Lucha show. I saw La Parka was going to be there.
Oh.
And I remembered watching him as a kid, and I was just like, that seems like something to do. Like, that seems like it would be something to go see. I've never been to a Lucha Libre show. I've never been to, any sort of, at that point, I hadn't been to any real wrestling outside of being like a kid and the few times I would go to Colby's shows.
Mm-hmm.
So I called up one of my buddies and was like, hey, like, there's this Lucha Libre show. Do you want to go? And he was like, yeah. So we went, and I don't know why I told that part of the story, but I went with him, and we had like an amazing time. It was an amazing experience. So when I started to train, I didn't realize the level of all the other wrestlers at Mucha Lucha, like how good everybody else is. Mm-hmm. So I thought like, oh, well, once I start wrestling, I'm sure they'll let me wrestle there because it's in Atlanta. And then I was like, once I started and realized like, oh, they're flying dudes in from Japan and Mexico, and they bring in like really good wrestlers. But I was friends with, I still am friends with Cosmo, who works Mucha Lucha shows.
Okay.
I would hit him up all the time, like, hey man, can you get me on there? Can you get me on there? And eventually one day he was like, yeah, the guy who runs the show wants to meet you. Just come by. So he told me that the sponsor, OK Taxi, was looking for somebody to basically be a billboard and wrestle. And I was like, yeah, I just want to be here, man. I don't care. So then I became OK Taxi Man.
Oh man, that's hilarious to know at the end of the day. Just the fact of like, yeah, they just want a walking billboard. So put a lucha mask on the big buff, guy from Iowa, and we'll call it a day.
Yeah, because they would have me before the shows stand with their
Like their booth, their table.
yeah, and when I stand out there, the fans will come up and start talking to me, and 9 times out of 10 they come up and start speaking to me in Spanish, and I know no Spanish.
Oh no.
So about the time that I say "hola" back in my super white accent, they look at me, they see my blue eyes, and then they're like, "Oh, this is just a goofy looking white dude with a mask on."
And yet
So
was started off as just a walking advertisement. Eventually got to the point to where again you got to be in wrestling matches as Taxi Man or whatnot, which that had to be just like a weird connection from one to another, you know? Oh,
yeah, the first time that I put on a mask, I put on the mask, went out there, stood with hung out with the crowd, and then right after I had to go work a match,
mm-hmm.
and working a match with a mask on, never having worn a mask, I was like, I don't know what the hell is going on because I can't see anything out of my peripherals,
Right.
and it's hard to breathe in this thing, and I was just like, this is chaos, man. Hopefully, I don't mess anything up. But they keep bringing me back, so I guess I'm doing okay at least.
Yeah, that's got to be saying something at the end of the day. I mean, the fact that you get an opportunity to do that and you keep coming back with Classic City, especially now that you've embraced the hate a little bit more and really, got to be a part of this fun tag team, helping out Nagicism, teaming up with DJ Smoke to become the Cutthroats at the end of the day. It must have been weird for you to think of going from like because I assume a lot of people you love to cheer you at the end of the day just because of the wild fun that you seem to have or whatnot. Was it weird for you to kind of go into the heelish territory, especially nowadays?
Not so much because it was between that time that I had quit, so I hadn't wrestled in so long, and
Okay.
then I hit Classic up, and me and DJ have always been friends. We started training together at the same time. We spent a lot of time. He would train a lot with John too, and so we've had a lot of our first matches. I think my first 10 matches, 3 of them were with him. So
Okay.
it was just cool to be back with him, and he does most of the stuff to get the negative reaction, and then it's just more like I'm guilty by association because I'm with him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it was an easy deal. I mean, I still, I'm breaking character left and right because I'm always like laughing and stuff like that. But yeah, it wasn't a bad transition for me, I guess.
I mean, that's fair. I mean, especially when you when you're surrounded by a guy like DJ Smoke, and especially when it comes to Classic City, you're associated with arguably the biggest bad guy in the promotion of Nagicism, which I mean, the big bad hoochie daddy or whatever he wants to call himself these days or whatnot. Like it's great to know that like you can get that reaction at the end of the day, especially with people that are helping you out. And I imagine, especially as you keep going down this path when it comes to wrestling, I know you said you quit for a little bit, but being with these promotions that you know seem to be on your side at the end of the day, like it has to be kind of it's good to know. I imagine no matter whether it's heel, face, no matter who you're teaming with or teaming against or whatnot, I imagine, especially with those two promotions, it's still a lot of fun for you to be able to go out there and just have a good time with your buddies at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Like the Classic City locker room, it's always a really good vibe. Everybody's always having a good time. So I don't feel it at all. Like I don't feel like I'm going there to be a heel. I feel like I'm going there to just have fun and seeing Justin and those guys. Like everybody, the promoters are great. Everybody in the back's great. The fans are always awesome. So it's just a really good time.
Oh, absolutely. And especially as you've really been going down this path, and I imagine still, putting yourself out there when it comes to shows. I know at the time that we're recording, you have a Classic City wrestling show this upcoming Saturday, which by the time this episode comes out, it'd be past, but you're going up against, the wonderful Alex Kane. Like that's gotta be not a first time match for you, but it's gotta be a very interesting match for you when it comes to going up against Alex or whatnot. But I I'm wondering, at least when it comes to the wrestling aspect, like even taking just a step back, especially since you've really gone down this path, does it amaze you more or less like how far you've been able to come as a wrestler and how much you've been able to put yourself out there?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I didn't really think about things as much as like everything felt like it just, I don't know how to say this. I didn't really look at what everybody else was doing, like as far as like me and DJ came in at the same time and like his struggle to just get booked on shows.
Right.
Um, and even though he's like way better wrestler than I am, I guess just with my like my appearance gets me booked on shows a lot easier. So I don't really think about things as much. I guess I just kind of take them for granted. I guess,
Right.
which isn't, you know, isn't really probably the best thing to admit, but I guess it has something to do with, some people have white privilege. I guess I have muscle privilege.
Muscle privilege. Okay. I mean, to be fair, you're someone that is a former bodybuilder and such. Like those muscles don't go away immediately.
Hopefully they don't go away.
Oh goodness. I know it seems like you're taking at least a little bit of a step back when it comes to like how much you're putting yourself out there when it comes to wrestling. But as you keep going down this path and keep doing shows or whatnot, is there any sort of like ultimate accomplishment or anything that you want to achieve by the time everything's all said and done? Or is this just kind of more or less a fun, just a fun way for you to express yourself and you want to keep going as long as you can?
I guess my goal for every single show that I do is to just entertain the people who are there. Like, because another thing that when I first started, within those first 2 weeks of wrestling, I remember Enzo. Is it Enzo Amore?
Yeah.
He came to the school and that I was trained at and just talked to everybody there. And one
Okay.
of the things that he said that stuck with me was, you don't know who's going to be in the crowd or what they're going through, and you might be there wrestling in front of a dad and son, and the dad's going through the divorce or whatever, and he doesn't really get to see his kid as much. And this is their one night together, and this is the time that they have together, and you got to give them the best you can give them. And that stuck with me because at that moment, I had just gone through a divorce. I didn't get to see my daughter as much as I would have loved to.
Right.
So that just stuck with me. So ever since, well, that was before I ever started working shows, but coming when I came back, because before it was like, let me just get on as many shows as I can. Let me wrestle as much as I can to like get exposure. And then when I stopped wrestling, it was like, well, if I ever go back to it, it's going to be strictly to have a good time and help people forget about whatever they got going on.
Right.
So I don't have like an end goal. I just want to make sure that everybody who's there while I'm wrestling has some sort of escape from whatever crap they're going through, man.
Oh yeah. No, trust me. That's first off, I can understand why what Enzo said, like you said, it definitely hit a lot closer to home than probably some of the people that were in that class listening to him speak or whatnot. But even then, yeah, like I think that's the most beautiful thing when it comes to wrestling. Like you can say all you want about the cool moves and the fun promos and all the insane spots or whatnot, but at the end of the day, like it's a fun little escape for everyone that gets a chance to sit down and watch it, whether it be on TV for millions of people or whether it be in a small little dive bar in downtown Athens with about 3 or 400 other people in there or whatnot. It's always that kind of make sure we all have that good time and just enjoy the bit that we have. And sincerely, I think you're one of the people that have genuinely made that a real fun experience for me. I know every single time I get a chance to see you, I like it's just fun at the end of the day just to see you, you know whether you're dressed up as a cop doing the YMCA or whether you've gone completely bald and you're just beating up the best good guy around just to prove a point for Nagicism to keep that belt. You've always been a really good presence at these shows, and I personally thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you, man. That means a lot more than you. Yeah, that means a lot to me, man. Thank you.
No, absolutely, absolutely. Even I want to even take a further step back than what we previously had when it comes to not just as a wrestler, but just kind of as a whole. One of the things I noticed when I was doing my research is on your Instagram, your description is physical storyteller. or whatnot. So it leads me to wonder, like, as you even taking a further step back from when you were just casually watching wrestling here and there when you're 12 years old, to getting the opportunity to step in the ring and have fun and, you know, make some incredible connections, to here you are right now having a good time just anytime you step in that ring. Does it amaze you more or less how far you've been able to come along as an artist?
I don't even know how to answer that question, to be honest. I feel like I don't really know as much as I think things just work out. I don't know how to describe it. Like, I don't know. I don't know if I have self-esteem issues or whatever it is. I just don't feel like I do that much to like have grown as an artist. But I guess now that I'm strictly out there to have fun, I feel like I'm a lot funner to watch. So I
Yeah.
guess that's some growth. That's not a good answer at all. I'm sorry.
No. Genuinely, I think I personally think it's a good answer. Just the fact that like the mentality's kind of changed at this point, and you're going out there to enjoy yourself, not just, you know, to make ends meet with going to 20 different shows in a month or something like that. Like, you're going out there just to have a good time and to make sure everyone else have a good time at the end of the day. I can understand how kind of the artist mind in there or whatnot, like it like you said, it's a fun time at the end of the day. That's what it should be for anyone else, for anyone out there.
Yeah, I guess I'm working more towards like you said, the cool moves and that. Like I don't even think about like moves anymore. I just think about like what reaction would this get, what reaction would that get, and what's gonna make somebody go home and like maybe smirk or laugh or whatever it is when they think about it, or when they're at work the next, on Monday, and they're, the boss is being a dick or whatever, and they get to like have a flashback of that and be like, oh, that Dave guy's an idiot or whatever.
Oh goodness, no, that I can understand where you're coming from with that one. Though I will say, you say you're not one for the cool moves. You gotta admit, when you dive over the top rope as Taxi Man, that's one of the coolest moves I've ever been able to see. Like
Yeah,
someone of your size diving over the top rope like that.
I've always said that I wanted to do a dive, and people are always like, nobody's ever going to catch you. So when it was the 6 man, I was like, well, there's 3 guys. They can most certainly catch me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I appreciate that. That was a fun experience.
No, absolutely, absolutely. Well, for this next question, if I may, well, actually, no. Before I go to the next question, I want to start with this question. Wonderful podcasting on my end. No, like, wow, I had it and then I lost it. Wow. No, um, no, like it's incredible to have that mentality in the first place. But for this next question, what if we go a little above and beyond, if I may, Dave? Because I want to give you more or less the dream scenario. Let's say I am Big Shot Mr. Moneybags. I come to him like, look, Dave, believe it or not, we've seen what you've been able to do, and we know there's something incredible there, just waiting to be mined for something incredible. You just need a little extra push, a little extra platform to get you to that point. We have access to everyone and anyone in whatever industry possible, and more money than there should be possible. We probably should be giving that back to some of the wrestlers, make sure they can get stuff like, health insurance and stuff, especially if they really want to make this like a career and all that kind of stuff. What we just said right there, that's part of the deal. That'll be part of it. But right now, we want to focus on you and you alone. If given this opportunity, what would be the dream Dave stage project?
Man, I always thought that there was a lot of crossover, and Classic City does a really good job at it, but a lot of crossover between music and wrestling.
Okay.
And I always thought it'd be cool if, and the fest kind of does it too, but like a half, kind of like it's almost ripping off Classic City, but doing like a half punk show, half wrestling, but also bringing in like specific bands that I really enjoy, like
Okay.
Cold Steel or Drain or um, Forced Neglect, stuff like that. Like I think
Okay.
that'd be awesome in the venues that would be where they would be playing shows. Like instead of making a wrestling show with a band, like making a punk show with that has wrestling mixed into it, I guess.
No, I can understand. Like, would it be kind of like how 40 Watt sets it up to where it's like the stage and then the ring is in the crowd, or would it be like the ring is on the stage and it's like the punk band performs while the wrestling's going on behind or whatnot?
Ooh, I guess it would just depend on the venue, but I like the way Classic does it. I like the way 40 Watt does it, where
Yep.
they're in there with the crowd. And I would want it to be in the environment of like no chairs, so everybody's right up, to the ring, and that like if there was, just like if you're at a punk show, nobody's sitting down, like nobody's just like sitting down and slam dancing at shows. So
Right.
I would want like everybody to be right up there, and just like all that energy that like punk and wrestling brings to something. You know what I mean?
No, I know exactly what you mean when it comes to at the end of the day. I mean, like the punk vibe in general is something that wrestling could definitely coexist. It's not like it hasn't coexist beforehand or whatnot, but especially having that direct connection of like punk concert wrestling show or whatnot. I'm surprised there isn't more of that out there in the world, because I feel like that would just be a fun time. Like, especially when, like you said, you have everyone standing or whatnot. You could have the ring literally be one of the mosh pits that people like tear apart to do or whatnot, and somehow like some of the fans get somewhat involved, not fully involved, but like that would be a fun visual at the end of the day, a wrestling match inside of a mosh pit.
Oh, absolutely.
So it makes me also wonder like how you would want to present yourself if you were going to a show like that or whatnot. Would it just be like the standard, big heel, Dave that we've been seeing these days or whatnot, or would you like get a little bit more dressed up for the occasion?
Well, I'm very much a minimalist with my gear,
Okay.
and I don't like wearing anything else. I just like wearing the trunks, or sometimes I'll wear the jean shorts. Um, so I think I would keep it as far as gear wise. I'd stay with the same deal.
You're not gonna give yourself an advantage with like the studded bracelets or whatnot that you see at some punk shows.
Nah, that would do some damage. Yeah.
That would do some damage. And on a serious note, that would do some damage. But sadly, we have to get down from that dream scenario. We have to get back to reality, and I'll ask the ever so generic question: where do you hope to see yourself, say, 5 to 10 years from now?
Oh man. As far as wrestling, I don't even know if I'll still be doing it. If I am, pretty much at the capacity that I'm doing it now.
Okay.
Having a good time wrestling for people who I, trust and respect and enjoy being around.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, as far as like life in general, just being a good dad, um, being there for my kid, and just having enough to like get by, I guess, man.
No, honestly, that's valid. That's a good thing to like. I always ask that question. There's some people it's like, I'm sorry, it's not more exciting or whatnot, or it's not a bigger thing. But like honestly, having that kind of grounded reality or whatnot and just wanting more of the good things you got going for you, that's all anyone could ask for at the end of the day. And I sincerely hope you get that and then some, because you deserve it at the end of the day.
Thanks,
Um,
man. I appreciate that.
no, absolutely. As we start to wind down the interview, I just got one last question that I like to ask. Obviously, at this point, you've definitely got yourself rooted in art in one form or fashion, especially with the wrestling aspect, because I've always considered wrestling art at the end of the day. How important is art, not just for you, but for the world as a whole?
I think art helps us understand who we are, and it helps us connect to parts of our lives that we might not be able to connect to any other way. A lot of times life just takes over. You get into that position where, not by anybody's choice. Nobody ever grows up as a kid and goes, I want to work a 9 to 5 job and just always be trying to, figure out a way to make ends meet and just kind of suffer through life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really easy to get stuck in that and just forget that you're a human having an experience, and you need to figure out ways to enjoy that experience. And sometimes the only way to enjoy that experience is through art. 10 minutes that you get on the way to work, to be able to listen to music, or, on your commute to work, however long that commute is, or those few minutes that you get, during your lunch break to consume whatever art that you want to consume. I think those are the only escapes that, us everyday, middle class folks really have.
Absolutely. I think that is wonderfully worded, if I do say so myself. Dave, that is all the questions I have for you today. I've already showered you with Lord knows how much praise, but I'm gonna shower you a little bit more because it's my podcast. I do what the fuck I want. Like genuinely, ever since I first had the opportunity to see you in person at Classic City or whatnot, you've always been one of the people that I cannot help but gravitate towards, just because like the way you present yourself and the fun you seem to have, no matter how you do present yourself and no matter who you're going up against. You're always one of the people that every single time I see you on the card, I know it's going to be a good time. I know it's going to be a fun match, whatever you're going to be involved with or whatnot. Getting the chance to sit down with you, chat with you right now, and getting to look back into kind of what got you up to this point, it gives me a new level of love and respect, because I know I know it's not easy to even get to this point in life in general, let alone, getting to be a part of something like wrestling or whatnot. Like, there's some people that would look at what you're struggling through and they'd be surprised they would even make it to that point. And the fact that you've continued to push forward and strive and do that, again, like I said, it gives me a new level of love and respect for what you do. And it makes me excited for whatever's going to be happening next, whether you get more opportunities in wrestling if you want it, or whether it's getting to continue to enjoy your life and being there for your kid and being there for just people at the end of the day. Just know that I love and appreciate what you do. And I'm going to be one of the people that's going to be rooting for you every single step of the way with what you got going on, because you're a fantastic person, a wonderful wrestler on top of that. And I am blessed to have even got a chance to know you, let alone have this conversation. So thank you for what you do.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate that. And I really appreciate you bringing me on and letting me waste some of your time.
If it was a waste, I wouldn't ask you to be on here in the first place. Trust me. Now, if people want to know more about what you got going on and see what opportunities they could have to witness the incredible raw, strength that is Dave's stage, go ahead and plug yourself for the people at home. Where can people find more about you and what you got going on?
So I don't have a lot, just my social media. My Instagram is @RealDaveStage, and then I have a Facebook that's just Dave Stage. I don't know how you find that, but yeah.
Yeah, I'll be sure to have those links. And if there's any more like that, I'll put them in the description below. I got the people that are watching, I got them covered more or less. Do you have any final words before we sign off?
Oh, man. No, I don't think so. Just, if you listen to this whole podcast, I appreciate your time. And I hope, you enjoyed it to some extent. And I hope whatever you're doing after, during, or before this, it was good. And I hope you have a good experience.
Absolutely. That's all we can ever hope for. Just good experiences at the end of the day. With that, all I have left to say is, for the people at home, if you can, please pay your artists. Thank you so much for sticking around to the end. If this is your first time listening, I cannot tell you how much I appreciate it, genuinely. Like I said in the intro, Dave is someone that I just had the chance to witness multiple times, thanks to going to local indie shows. And he was a really cool person at the shows, and he's a really cool person just to chat with. Dave, if you've gotten up to this point, thank you so much for even taking the time to do this, man. Like, you're a really cool person and a really wonderful person to chat with, and I really do appreciate you. I can't deny it. Like, I am a huge fan of wrestling just in general, but it's been really hard to be a fan of wrestling as of late. I mean, you look at all the big names and the major leagues when it comes to wrestling or whatnot, and there's always some weird headline or some behind the scenes shady stuff that just makes you just makes it so hard to claim to be a wrestling fan. But that's why I'm more than happy to give a platform for guys like Dave or like previous wrestling guests like Creeps, Chance Oakley, Noah Vale, just to name a few, Jack Miles. It's one of those, like, if nothing else, the intimate space that you can get to whenever you go to a local show more than anything else. Oh, it makes it more than worth it. It's up there with like going to a concert or, you know, any sort of like public thing where that you feel like you're part of a community. Even if you know nothing about what's going on, a local wrestling show always makes you feel at home at the end of the day. That's why I'm more than happy to give a platform to Dave. It's always great to, you know, be able to go to that local wrestling show. Classic City Wrestling, by the way. If you're around the Athens area, keep an eye out for their shows because it's a fun vibe. Nothing else. But yeah, no, I like legitimately, local wrestling shows is what's keeping me a fan of wrestling at the end of the day. Because there are so many things out there that can easily dissuade you from being a fan. At the end of the day, it's that community that I keep talking about in the artist aspect. There's a fun community when you go to a local wrestling show, even if it's complete strangers. You know nothing about them. You know nothing about any of the wrestlers that's going to be on the card. You just know that you're going to be there for a good vibe. It's always amazing. I mean, that's how it was the first time I went to a Classic City Wrestling show. And here I am years later, keeping on coming back. Any chance they make their way to 40 Watt in Athens. So if you're a person that loves wrestling or used to love wrestling or is just looking for a fun time on a random Friday or Saturday when there's a local wrestling show, go to it. Have a good time. Have some fun. Be a part of that community. I promise you, if nothing else, it'll certainly be an interesting experience that you can eventually talk about with other people and grow as a community as well. So if there's anything I can tell you to glean from this conversation, go to a local wrestling show today.